G'day and welcome. If you're watching this video on a Friday, it means that the Frenchie is taking a break. A well-deserved break, I reckon. In all the years we've been making these videos and traveling, Steffi's only had two weeks off in all of that time, so I reckon she deserves this little break. Today's gonna be more of a technical video again. We receive a lot of requests about modifications to our vehicle. Do we regret any of the modifications we made? What would we do again if we could start over? Is there anything we would change on our Land Rover Defender? Bull bar, or rhubarb, as we call it in Australia. We have the ARB Deluxe, I think it's called. I can't remember even the exact name of the model. It's a massive bull bar. It weighs about 80 kilograms. I would always have front protection on my overland vehicle. I grew up in a rural town in Western Australia where bull bars or rhubarbs were the absolute norm. I've hit kangaroos, I've been in the car with my father when we've hit kangaroos, and we have been in a front-on accident with a truck in which a bull bar saved our life. I have no doubt about it. A winch. Do you really need a winch as an overlander? Now I'm talking overlander here on everything that I speak about with this vehicle, not an off-roader. The answer to that is probably not. Probably no, you do not need a winch. We have one, yes, an electric winch. We have a Warn XP 9.5 winch. Have we ever needed this winch particularly to get us out of trouble? Not yet. On the previous build on our 130 in Morocco, we did have a hand winch. We were bogged in the Sahara Desert in Morocco, and that little winch pulled us out. Having a winch, whether it be a hand winch or an electric winch, is a completely personal choice. Yes, it throws a few extra kilograms on your car, but it's one of those things that, yeah, you might travel for 5 years and never use it, but the one time you do need it and don't have it is when you're gonna regret it. The aluminium checker plate or bonnet protection that is quite popular with Land Rover Defenders. Do we need this? I would say yes. We walk on our bonnet very regularly to access our roof storage box, and also our spare tire is up there. Our raised air intake or our snorkel. Now I say raised air intake. A lot of people think that this purely is a snorkel for river crossings. That's not true. It's a raised air intake to keep your air intake for your engine above dusty and sand levels. Ours is also a pre-filter, a cyclonic type pre-filter. It catches a lot of dust that can be emptied out, and the way I figure it, all that dust that ends up in that catchment is dust that's not getting to the air filter. Would I install a snorkel again on a new build? Absolutely. The LED bar was a gift from Newman 4x4, and we thank them very much for that. Merci beaucoup. We avoid driving at night whenever we can for safety and many reasons. We've got absolutely no need to be driving at night. Would I install a big LED bar on a future build if we ever did again? Probably not. A roll cage. We have a roll cage on our Defender. As most people will know, Defenders are not typically the strongest vehicles. They are made predominantly of aluminium, and if you've ever seen a picture of a Defender that's rolled, they crush like a Coke can. So I chose, for safety purposes again, to get a roll cage. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I think it's a good addition to a Land Rover. Tires and rims. Our tires, we are currently running the Toyo Open Country MTs, 265 75 with 16-inch rims. I will admit I made a mistake when we rebuilt this car, this Defender 130, after our accident in Portugal. I got a little bit excited, as I think a lot of people would have over the years in building an overland vehicle, and I thought bigger would be better. As the master, our good friend Nikolai, told me in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, after we snapped our swivel ball housing, big tire, big problem. So we made the decision to go back to the 265 75s. They're about 32-inch, I think. They also suit our car a lot better, and we do not require spacers to use them. Yeah, we've removed these spacers. We weren't gonna go on about this bloody clicking noise, but unfortunately, it's still there. I still personally believe that all the problems we had were in relation to installing spacers on our heavy vehicle. Our rims, we have Racer alloy 16-inch rims. There's an age-old debate, which I'm not going to go into, steel rims versus alloy rims. These things are super strong, and they're rated for a high capacity weight load. Again, personal choice. If you think steel rims are the way to go for the steel rims. Alloys are lighter. We're heavy enough as it is, so wherever we can save a bit of weight, we will. Engine. We have the 2.4 litre Ford TDCi engine. We've had an engine upgrade, we had an engine remap, a larger intercooler and a larger turbo installed. Would I make those engine modifications again? Absolutely. I've never once regretted having that little bit of extra torque and horsepower on our vehicle. These things, the door handle protectors or side body armor, whatever you want to call them, are they completely necessary? Absolutely not. Steffi never wanted to get them. I wanted to get them. Probably didn't need them. I thought they looked pretty amazing and they do offer a little bit of side protection to the vehicle. We may remove those at some stage, I think. On our first Land Rover Defender 130 Overland build, our rear suspension consisted of two Bilstein B6, I think, I can't remember exactly, shock absorbers in the rear along with heavy duty coil springs. Now this was a very, very reliable setup also. The only issue we had was when we drove with the camper removed, it was super hard suspension. It was completely set up for us driving off-road with the camper on the vehicle. On the build of our second Land Rover Defender 130, we decided to try something a little bit different, learning from our previous experience. We have in the rear now dual shock absorbers, with one of those rear shock absorbers being adjustable. We have heavy duty coil springs and we also have airbags from Airbag Man in Australia. Now these airbags are adjustable airbags. In my personal opinion, we've pretty much got the suspension nailed on this build. With the camper on the car, it's heavy. It lowers the back of the Defender slightly. We pump some air into these airbags and it gets it nice and level. We can also adjust our front and rear shock absorbers to suit the style of driving we're doing at the time. If we drive with the camper removed, we adjust the suspension accordingly. Diesel tanks. We have two diesel tanks on this Land Rover Defender. Our main diesel tank is a 140 litre long range diesel tank from Long Range Automotive in Australia. We also have a 70 litre auxiliary side sill diesel tank, also from Long Range Automotive. We have the option to carry 210 litres of diesel. On our first Land Rover Defender, we only had the 140 litre main diesel tank and we were carrying two jerry cans. I'm extremely happy we made the move away from the jerry cans. I think these days, if you want to carry extra fuel, carrying jerry cans is absolutely unnecessary. It takes up extra storage room and almost every vehicle now can be equipped, or you can buy a prefabricated auxiliary diesel or fuel tank. What I like about our auxiliary diesel tank is it keeps the weight nice and low. Another thing I'm going to touch on is our rear seats. In our first Land Rover Defender 130 build, we chose to remove the double seats in the back. We removed the double section and replaced it with a large storage box. On this build, we chose to only remove the single seat in the back. Although having the two seats in the back has come in handy on occasion, we have to think of our own personal journey, and I think we would have been better off doing as we did on the first Defender build and leaving a single, removing the double. Talking about spare tires. Do we need two spare tires? I believe no, you do not need to carry two spare tires. I can only think of a few places in the world that I would even consider carrying a second spare tire. And if I ever did decide to carry a second spare tire, I wouldn't carry the rim. I would only carry the rubber. We rotate our tires regularly, we regularly inspect our tires, and we carry a very good quality tire puncher repair kit. Rock sliders or side protection, I'm not sure what you want to call those bad boys. I think they are an awesome bit of kit, and I would definitely install something similar if I was ever building another vehicle. Not only do they offer great side protection, but they also give us a little step to get into the vehicle. Compressor. We carry an ARB twin cylinder compressor, an absolutely essential piece of equipment. I'm not saying it has to be that particular brand or model particularly. Any overland vehicle or off-road vehicle should be equipped with an onboard air compressor system. We also have a dual battery system, another essential piece of equipment in any overland build. I want to talk quickly about our lighting system other than the big LED bar. We do have LED lights front and rear. I do think the LED lights are absolutely spectacular. Install, forget about them. I will mention something that we found out in Siberia, Russia. LED lights are not so good in the ice and snow. They don't create enough heat to melt that ice, that muck that glazes over the front of your headlights in a snowstorm. Not a big problem in Australia, but driving through Siberia in late November, we had to stop, remove the front light guards, and scrape the ice off at regular intervals. Just touching briefly on some other upgrades that we made on this rebuild that we didn't do on our first. We have a heavy duty clutch. I definitely do not regret getting a heavy duty clutch. Our front and rear prop shafts are from Gwyn Lewis in the UK, and they are also heavy duty. We've got a heavy duty output shaft. Brakes. We've got standard brakes with good quality brake pads. I think that's always been good enough for us. If we did do this build again, or at some stage in the future, I probably would actually upgrade the braking system to a high performance system. Our track rods, our panhard rod, our rear tailing arm, and our front radius arm are also heavy duty. Again, another modification I would for sure make in the future. Our differentials. In the rear, we have an Ashcroft limited slip differential, which, touch wood, hasn't let us down so far. In the front, if you guys remember after Afghanistan and the Bartang Valley, we limped back to Nikolai's house with a busted front differential. Now this front diff was standard. That was the one that came with the vehicle. We never did anything to that. In Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan, the master, Nikolai himself, managed to source us, I think it was a Disco 1 front differential, which I wouldn't have even known was compatible, but Nikolai somehow found that in the east of the country and installed that one for us. We often get asked why we don't go for a full locking system. Reason being, we are overlanders, not off-roaders. A full air locking system, although I'm sure it's absolutely bloody amazing, requires a little bit of extra maintenance, and it's also just something else that can go wrong. And we don't need other things that can go wrong. Our vehicle does have a 2-inch lift on it. The first 130 we built, it didn't have a lift. Would I lift a vehicle again if I built another one? Probably yes. It is nice to have that little bit of extra clearance. All right, well that about wraps up this video. Please feel free to leave a comment with anything that you disagree on. Maybe give us some advice from your own experience. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Cheers and catch you later.